And thank you very much to you guys for joining me after a lunch. I hope you enjoyed the two key food groups that I always enjoy when I'm in Istanbul, which is coffee and baklava. I also want to say a big thank you to Erda and to the Webrazzi team for inviting us to attend and to participate in today's event. And I want to say a particular note of thank you to the team for putting me on directly after lunch. Because I read an article a couple of weeks ago about prisoners who are up for parole in the US. And if they go up against the judge before lunch, they have a 20% chance of being granted parole. But after lunch, they have a 65% chance of being given it. So I'm hoping you guys are well-fed and in a good mood too. So just to introduce myself, my name is Richard McGuinnes. I work as the Regional Vice President for the sales team in Salesforce. I'm based in our Dublin office, which is our EMEA head office. And we're delighted to be here today in conjunction with our partners, Ritmus, who are one of our local technology partners who help implement and deliver Salesforce solutions to our customers across Turkey. And what I want to do before I start is actually kick off in Salesforce fashion with a little video to share with you what we do and how we do it.
Buy this here. Sign up for discounts. Did we mention discounts? Why aren't you signing up? See mistargeted ad here. Here's another one. Look over here, up here, now down here. This is not your optimal marketing strategy. But what if you had Salesforce? With Salesforce, you blaze trails with one platform for one connected customer experience, taking customers on the one-to-one journeys they choose. Your marketing team is smarter and more predictive about each customer with an intelligent platform integrating marketing, sales, service, and commerce. A collaborative CRM with the tools and data to make recommendations based on past purchases. Or help solve issues your customers may have had with certain products. Like shipping a new jacket quickly. You can drive engagement through custom communities and connect with your customers through any device, on any channel. From social media to your connected products, gathering key insights to strengthen your relationship with each customer at every stage. Even the businesses you're marketing to, easily adjusting campaigns to help drive leads and pipeline. All while you get a complete view of your customer data to optimize your marketing strategy right from your phone. Discover one platform for one connected customer experience with Salesforce.
It's always a hard act to follow any of these Salesforce videos, and particularly follow it with this love letter from our lawyers. We're a publicly traded company, so our forward-looking statement effectively says that any purchasing decisions that you make should be based on product features that are currently available, not those on our future roadmap. And with that out of the way, there's no prizes for anybody who knows what was on the third line at the end of the day. For those of you who don't know who Salesforce are, we have been in business about 18 years. We consider ourselves one of the fastest growing startups. We still consider ourselves a startup. This year we expect to pass $10 billion of run rate revenue. And we were only this last 6 months nominated by Forbes magazine as the most innovative company in the world, most innovative company of the decade. And we're very, very proud of that award in particular, because what we've actually learned from our customers has allowed us to innovate and to constantly develop the types of tools that we make available to the rest of our customers. And it's that constant feedback that we get from our 300,000 customer companies that allows us to stay not just one step ahead of the competition, but hopefully one step ahead of where your customers are too. So what I want to do today, I want to just chat a little bit about the age of the customer and talk a little bit about connecting to these customers at scale, and hopefully share with you a couple of takeaways about how your company is going to be able to take advantage of the new age of customer centricity that businesses are now finding themselves in. And there's been an absolutely enormous revolution in technology over the last 10, 20 years. As we've moved away from mainframes and client servers, we passed through cloud into mobile, and now we've got social, IoT, we've got AI, and we have a much more connected experience for the customer. And the kicker is that all of these billions of connected devices and the trillions of interactions that these devices are generating are data points that companies need to pay attention to. Because behind each of these data points is a customer. And in this new age of the customer, it can be difficult to keep up with that constant pace and that constant rate of change. And ironically, the key industries and the core industries still are rooted in very traditional practices. If you look at McKinsey having said that by 2020, they'll still have, or 80% of retail transactions will still take place in a physical store. And this is in spite of the fact that physical stores haven't changed an enormous amount over the last 200 years. This is a little lithograph from a Wedgwood store in London in 1809, showing all their lovely wares. And this is a picture of an Apple store. So not a lot has changed in the retail sense. And meanwhile, your customers have been connecting in new and varied ways. So how do you make sure that the technology that your customers are now engaging with is something that isn't leaving you behind? There's an enormous amount of statistics. I'm not going to bore you all with these pieces, but I found an extraordinary number of Instagram posts. Apparently there's 30,000 Instagram posts a second at the moment. Over 70,000 likes on Facebook every second. And although I'm a married man, I don't know how to spell Tinder. I hear there's over 9,000 swipes a second. So what that means is that the customer has changed in terms of their expectation. They no longer expect to be able to engage with your business and for you to react to them. They're now expecting for you to be proactive. They're giving you this information. They expect for you to be able to take some steps to be able to come to them and be proactive in the way that you serve them. And in fact, what's then coming in the future is this idea of artificial intelligence giving companies and customers the experience of predictive customer service and a predictive customer experience. And I've chatted a lot over the last couple of months with companies that have been trying to move into the artificial intelligence world and trying to take advantage of machine learning and natural language processing. And it's a very difficult thing for them to do. They're trying to parse out how exactly their business and their data is going to be relevant in an AI-connected world. And their customers are already there. The customers have already begun to engage with Facebook and the type of deep machine learning that allows Facebook to tag photos of your friends with their names, or with Siri on their mobile phone, where they're using natural language processing to make queries on demand. My 9-year-old son steals my phone on a regular basis, doesn't bother typing anything in, uses Siri and voice commands constantly. I would also say that he's hacked my phone, so it now calls me Fat Daddy Cool rather than Richard, which is a little upsetting. I don't know how to switch it off, but AI is very much in the customer's hands already. And how are retailers, how are companies going to be able to bridge this gap? It's one gap that we know our customers are experiencing, and it's one that we've tried to stay ahead of. So Salesforce has, over the last 2 years, invested over almost $3 billion in acquiring a number of leading artificial intelligence companies. Great companies like Prediction.io, like MetaMind, like Crux, that are using artificial intelligence now on our data platform to be able to give our customers a really predictive view of what their customers are in turn going to do next. And the reason we had to do this was we work with over 300,000 customer companies globally, from two-person startups right up to 25, 50,000-person companies. And the customer journeys that each of these companies have is difficult to map. Google state that over 90% of purchasers have gone through 5 channels before they make a purchasing decision. And it's a convoluted web that they've run across email, across market, across mobile, across social, in-store. And how does a company then make sense of all of these different paths that the customer will follow? Whether the customer is actually in a particular moment in their path, there's always a journey that they've followed. And you've got to be able to understand what the customer's doing. You've got to be able to understand what they've purchased and why they've purchased it. You've got to understand how they're interacting with your brand on a social platform. And then you've got to be able to understand the technology that they're using. And if you try to map all of this into a customer journey, it becomes extraordinarily complicated. And trying to get a single view of that customer journey becomes very, very difficult if you have silos and different pots of information running across your business. And it's where Salesforce work with companies to be able to give a single view of the customer by giving a single platform for all of those conversations to be contained in. The truth of it is, though, for the companies that don't yet work with us, and many companies that even do, there's a gap. And the gap created between all of this information that's been presented, and for an advertiser, the type of content that they're presenting into the marketplace is significant. The leak between the stuff that's available and the stuff that the customer is making available and the stuff that the businesses are actually taking advantage of is enormous. In fact, even if you look internally into businesses, over 80% of businesses, click on. If I hit the right button, I guess we click on. Over 80% of businesses themselves don't actually have a single view of the customer across their sales and marketing teams. So how do they build a single view of how they're going to engage more proactively or more predictively with their customer if this is the case? The key is to be able to understand the customer and understand how exactly they move through the life cycle with your product. So how exactly they're going to be able to become aware of your brand in the first place, how they're going to start to acquire or onboard, how do they engage with your product thereafter, and how do you turn those customers into advocates? And if you have a view, again, the wrong button, if you have a view of this customer across all of their channels, it allows you to start to build a complete 360-degree view of that customer. So whether their conversation is on social, or it's on web, or it's on an email campaign, you're able to connect the dots and get a full, complete view of what your customer is doing. And Salesforce, again, has been able to build a platform that allows not just the advertising, the marketing, the sales journey, but all the service and the communities and all the elements that engage with customers. It gives our customer companies the opportunity to build a full 360-degree view of their customers. So if you look at what that single view could look like, and I want to give a couple of examples of how that single view impacts some customer companies we've worked with. And in particular, I want to give you an example of Scotch and Soda. It's a clothing brand based out of the Netherlands. I know Ali from Ritmus is a big fan. We've been working with them over the last couple of years, trying to even parse out the detail of their first-person data, or their first-level data. And what we've done with them is we've worked with them on the CRM data that they've got, so they know their customer profile. They know what they look like. Now, using the Facebook Audience Builder or the Audience Lookalike program, they've been able to go build a picture of what their ideal customer looks like, go to Facebook, and then build an ad campaign that targets customers that are similar to their existing ones. And what they've seen is a massive increase in the marketing ROI. They've actually reported a 9-fold increase in their online advertising dollar spend just from that activity alone. We're taking that further now with them because of the acquisition of Crux, which is a huge DMP platform and allows access to billions of data points of third-party potential customers, and allows the customer lookalike to run across a much wider platform. The other thing that they did, which seems basic and seems simple, is they began to look at their online advertising spend and their email marketing campaigns, and begin to overlay one with the other. Rather than operating in discrete bundles, by crossing them over, they found that customers who were experiencing both channels, both the online ad and the email marketing campaign, were 22% more likely to purchase. And even more interestingly, when they looked at their inactive customer base, so the guys who over the last 180 days maybe hadn't opened an email or clicked on an email, they found that if they were targeting them with advertising and understanding the customer journey up to the point where they had switched off, they found that those customers were far more likely to re-engage with the platform because they get tired on one path and their customer journey has moved on to another. So by being able to link these from one side to another, this company has seen a huge increase. In fact, they say that on that particular campaign, they get a $13 return on every dollar they spend on advertising, $13 out of checkout for every dollar they spend in crossing those campaigns over. So it's difficult if you can imagine as a customer and put yourself in their shoes, how do they relate to your brand? How do customers currently connect? The old days were that they expected that they would have a reliable, functional product. There was an expectation that your product was going to work and that it was usable. But that's now table stakes. Customers are no longer interested in that. I mean, they expect it as a matter of course. The companies that are really now revolutionizing the way that companies connect to their customer base are now beginning a journey. So some of these companies are now beginning a journey to create an emotional attachment with the brand. And that's an emotional attachment that's much more deep and much more meaningful and much more resonant to the individuals. They don't just want a product that's functional. They now want to have a product relationship that's meaningful. They want to know that they're able to have a convenient access to the product or to the service. And they want to make sure that it's pleasurable. And if you put yourself in a customer's shoes, customers have are bombarded with information. I wanted to use this particular example that's not a photo of me, by the way, with glasses. I recently moved house and I had to get a mortgage. And so I began to talk to different mortgage providers, and really it was extraordinary that they only understood one particular question I was asking them about the mortgage that I was looking for today. And I, as a customer in my financial life cycle, I have an enormous amount of considerations, an enormous amount of things that I need to think of. In my weekly life, I've got to figure out what my savings, my credit cards, what bills are being paid. But across the life cycle, I'm also trying to figure out retirement planning. I'm trying to think about the next mortgage. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make sure that my children are looked after or paying for college funds. So this full life cycle, for me as a customer, is confusing. And the customer connection that you can create is one where you've created more value than you've collected. In effect, what you've done is you've begun to have a real meaningful relationship with your customers across 4 key points, 5 key points. You make sure that it's personal. You make sure that the customer relationship is contextual. You make sure that you have a proactive relationship, and you make sure that you can then begin to predict where the customer is going to go next and advise them and give them service that extends beyond their expectations. Again, the Salesforce platform allows all of those conversations to happen and allows companies to connect in really deep and meaningful ways to their customers. And I didn't want this presentation to just be about the technology, because in fact there's one overriding thing that makes an even bigger difference to the companies that succeed at becoming customer-centric, and that is the culture of their business. If a company has made a decision to become customer-centric, that has to be bought into by the entire business. If you want to delight your customer and have an extraordinary relationship with your customer, it can't be individual needs within each department. The success of businesses that outperform the others is very evident when you begin to ask the companies that are high-performing, what do they do to make sure that they're actually talking internally? How exactly they are engaging in a true digital transformation strategy. The companies that are high-performing are 8 times more likely to have a digital transformation strategy and be putting focus on customer experience. It gets even more interesting then when you begin to look at the culture, the businesses that have built a culture of customer centricity, and you begin to look at how they invest in technology. So the companies that have begun to integrate their business systems are 13, almost 14 times more likely to be high-performing businesses than those that don't. And again, this is a mindset that the company has to come to. It's not the technology platform, Salesforce, or any other. This is about the mindset that allows companies to understand the value of having these systems and the value of connecting all of these conversations. Because collaboration in the businesses that we work with is key. Salesforce is one tool. It's one mechanism to allow you to not just have a conversation and engage with your customers, but also engage right across your business. So there's 3 pieces I just want to leave you with, and I'm conscious of the time ticking down and the fact that my baklava isn't going to last for too much longer. My sugar rush is crashing. There's 3 pieces I want to leave you with. For truly customer-centered business, the first piece is you've got to consider how exactly your customer journey is evolving. How across all of the channels that a company touches a customer are they moving? And know that they're moving today. All of those customer conversations are happening, and if you're not listening in multiple channels, then you're ignoring an important part of the relationship. The second piece is to be prepared for what AI is going to do. AI isn't just something that's living off in a science fiction movie or coming in 2030. It's here today. And the challenge is that if you're not prepared for that and you're not ready to take your customer data and deliver it onto an AI platform, then how do you maintain relevance? How do you maintain that kind of connection at scale and in a cost-efficient way? And the third piece that I want to leave you with is, above all of the others, above the technology and above all of this changing dynamic of the customer, the one commitment that I'd ask you all to make as you leave the session today or as you leave the event today is to make a commitment as a business to become customer-centered. Build a culture in your company that is absolutely focused on the customer, not the technology, not your product, but the customer first. And I wish you all the very, very best and the very best of success as you continue to evolve. I'm going to be here for a couple of hours, and my team, Naz and Merve, Yordar, and the team from Ritmus will be here as well. If there are any questions, or if you guys want to have any conversations about how we may be able to help you become more customer-centered. And I'd like to say thank you very, very much again to the Webrazzi team for inviting us here today. So thank you very much.